Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of DSS Break. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're here live every other week to talk about data science experiences and best practices with leading data professionals in a 15-minute break. I'm Anna Anisin, CEO and founder of Data Science Salon, and I'm streaming from our headquarters located here in the heart of the Design District in Miami. And on today's break, I'm sitting down with Atindriyo Sanyal, who's the founder and CTO of a San Francisco-based machine learning company called Galileo. Atin has over 10 years of experience building large-scale machine learning platforms at companies like Uber and Apple, and he will share his insights about machine learning data intelligence and how it solves the data quality problem. So thank you so much for joining us for this DSS break episode, Atin.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being on this show.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I know that you've worked some of, Apple and Uber, some of the most, kind of thought leaders in machine learning space. And I'm sure you could maybe tell me a little bit about your background, how you got started and ended up where you are now with Galileo.
Absolutely. So I've spent around 13 years, pretty much most of my career, building machine learning systems and platforms before ML was even as pervasive as is it today. And I spent the earlier part of my career working in a very early Siri team. So it was the early days of Siri. And we built out a lot of the platform and infrastructure that eventually got used into building and training some of their models, which powered Siri and other Apple products. So gained a lot of experience building, machine learning based data systems at Apple. But the second half of my career was actually at Uber, where I was fortunate enough to be part. And Michelangelo is a machine learning platform which practically drives all of Uber's machine learning.
Oh
Whether
wow!
you
Did you work with Kyle over there? What's his name?
Kyle was likely a customer of Michelangelo. It does ring a bell.
Yeah, no,
Um,
he's the founder of Big Eye, and I know he was also at Uber working on that
Yes, that's
platform.
right. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Actually, we were sister teams. And towards the later part of my stint at Uber, when I focused a lot on data quality for Uber's ML models, there was a lot of integration with the tech that was the foundations for Big Eye eventually.
yeah. Cool. That's really cool to see how everybody's connected in this space.
It really is. So it was interesting. At least my experience at Michelangelo was part of building and architecting the world's first feature store, as well as the first monitoring solutions. That team of about 20 odd engineers built out about half a dozen technology solutions and blueprints, which have become pretty MLOps standard today. So a lot of those learnings and experiences were very helpful in formulating the idea of Galileo, which primarily focuses on the fact that high quality data can lead to better models.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. And now that you ended up talking about Galileo, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you're building there and kind of if there's some specific thing that you guys focus on as far as your platform goes or specialize in, and the whole cycle of machine learning.
No, absolutely. So Galileo is essentially a platform that's built for data scientists to help them curate high quality data for any ML model. So what it's not is that it's not a machine learning platform to train and serve models, but rather we are compatible with any platform that you would use to train, whether it's a X structured data XGBoost model or a deep learning model for your text classification. You just add 2 lines of Galileo code, and then we monitor your training and inference jobs and figure out what's really wrong with your data and what pulls your model down. And additionally, we give you suggestions on what best data to train and evaluate your models with that will give you maximum performance and boost in creating a high quality model. So the principle is to focus on high quality data and make those changes and fixes in your data that will lead to the maximal model performance.
Right. Awesome. No, that's really sounds like you guys are solving a very important problem. Um, and I know that one of your expertise is around machine learning data intelligence. And how would you describe the term and why does it really matter so much?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, ML data intelligence is this notion that it's critical to very thoughtfully look at your data and the features that you're training and evaluating your models with,
Mhm.
no matter how powerful your model is. Because bad data, even on a well trained model, leads to bad results. So, the question becomes, how do you figure out what the best and most relevant data is for your model to train with? And how do you mitigate imbalances in your data and hidden biases in different pockets of your data? And how do you reduce any kind of noise that that might throw the model off? Because at the end of the day, maintaining the quality bar on a model is a constant process where essentially there's a need to retrigger training, for example, when there's new data that the model might be receiving from the world based on changes in traffic. So how do you inform a practitioner that there's a need to change or retrigger training because data has drifted or there's a new cluster of data that the model's not doing well on? But I think the underlying principle is, how do you point the user to specific samples of the data that will fix the issue? So that's where data intelligence comes in that it's a more scientific way of looking at your data and taking observability of ML data to the next level, where this was one of the key problems at Uber as well, where there were model outages, and more often than not, the solutions would be just to train blindly or retrain on a new cohort of data and then just throw a model out the door. It's
Mhm.
almost like restarting a computer when there's something that's more nuanced wrong, right? So
Yeah,
it's really shining a light on the data and pointing you to the data that's wrong or that may be right and giving you insights on that.
got it. And what are some of your tips for data scientists to increase the quality of their models, if you have any tips?
Right, that's a great question. In fact, that's pretty much the premise of what I'll be speaking about at the Austin conference in February. So maybe I can give a little bit of a preview. I'll talk about 5 principles that you need to adopt in your ML processes. And this is based on my many years of experience building and looking at models which were deployed on Michelangelo as well as Galileo's own users.
Hmm.
So maybe I'll briefly talk about 3 of the 5 principles. So the
Briefly,
first,
yeah. Don't give too much away.
absolutely, absolutely. So understanding your data is extremely important because a lack of understanding will lead to nuanced issues creeping into your ML pipelines, and these issues compound downstream. At Michelangelo, we used to call them soft outages, where there's no way to figure out why a model's not performing well on a particular kind of data. um, Training and evaluating on relevant data is very key. You need to be scientific about creating your ML data sets. Data less is more. And uh, one of my favorite principles, and we adopted this very well at Michelangelo at Uber, which was evaluate your models on a hybrid set of metrics. Data scientists have a habit of looking at F1 scores and RMSE, and that's great. That's first principles. But building a robust ML system goes much beyond just looking at 1 or 2 metrics. And I'll go deeper into some of the more crucial metrics to observe and monitor when you're building an ML system.
Cool. No, I think that that's super interesting, and I'm really excited to see your presentation in Austin next month. Um, and bonus tip for data scientists: what is there an article that you recently read that you found interesting that you could maybe just briefly talk about, and then we'll share the article on here with everybody after.
Absolutely. It's more of a fun article, but it's very interesting. 'Cause I always believe that for one, I'm a history nerd, so I love going into the history of things. And I also believe that, if you want to be passionate about a particular topic, you should know the history of it so that you understand where we came from, so that you can have a good idea about where to go from here. So this is an article about the history of generative AI, and this goes well into the 70s when the first forms of computer-generated art started to emerge using heuristics at that time. And it's a very interesting article that also talks about how culture played a role in stigmatizing AI as this evil thing, and they call it the AI winters of the 2 decades, and how it's emerged back up, and what the trends are in generative AI today. So I found that very fascinating, and it gave me a very much deeper understanding and appreciation of the field and its applications.
Yeah, no, that sounds really interesting. I'm gonna have to check it out myself. And yeah, we'll share that link to that right after this. Thank you so much for joining us today, Atina, and for sharing your experience with us and the article. And it was really a pleasure to have you. And as we just mentioned, join Atina and myself and in Austin, which is going to be happening next month, February 21st and 22nd. And we're going to be gathering the local data science community for 2 days of content sharing and networking in Austin. And we're also going to bring some folks from outside the community, like Atin, and some others. And all the sessions are going to be live streamed as well. So we're really excited to see everybody in person and also virtually. We're also going to share a link to that. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks again, Atin, and I hope that all of you have a great rest of the week, and make sure to grab a ticket to DSS ATX next month. Bye, guys.
Thank you.